399 BCE. The courtroom in Athens is suffocating. The air tastes of dust and fear. 500 jurors have spoken. The sentence is death. An old man stands calmly before them, barefoot, unarmed, unafraid. He does not beg. He does not flatter. He does not retreat. Soon he will drink poison made from hemlock, and history will remember him as Socrates. His crime? Corrupting the youth, questioning authority, refusing to lie for the comfort of the powerful. As the cup touches his lips, he speaks words that echo like a hammer through time. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." And then he drinks. Across centuries, in another collapsing republic, another man watches idealists fall like autumn leaves. The year is 1513. Florence is unstable. Alliances shift like sand. Friends become traitors overnight. Torture is not philosophy, it is policy. This man has seen what happens to the honest. He has seen republics crumble because leaders were too virtuous to be ruthless. He has seen mercy weaponized against the merciful. His name is Niccolò Machiavelli, and he writes with chilling clarity. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Two men, two visions of survival, two answers to the same terrifying question. Do honest empaths die first? Socrates walked through Athens not as a ruler, not as a general, but as a mirror. He approached politicians, poets, generals, and asked them simple questions. What is justice? What is courage? What is virtue? They answered confidently. He dismantled them patiently. And beneath their confidence, he exposed emptiness. Carl Jung says, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." Socrates forced them to face theirs. And that is why he had to die. Because truth is more dangerous than rebellion. Truth humiliates power without lifting a sword. Socrates believed in the supremacy of moral integrity. He believed that harming one's soul was worse than losing one's life. He believed empathy, dialogue, and conscience were strengths, not weaknesses. But Athens did not reward integrity. It executed it. Machiavelli watched the world without illusion. He saw how quickly loyalties shifted, how fear shaped behavior more reliably than love, how rulers who tried to be saints were devoured by wolves. In The Prince, he writes not about how the world should be, but how it is. He does not speak of virtue in heaven. He speaks of survival on earth. Machiavelli once said, "A prince who wishes to maintain himself must learn how not to be good, not because evil is admirable, but because naivete is fatal." Where Socrates believed that justice protects the soul, Machiavelli believed power protects the state. And without the state there is chaos. Without authority there is blood. He asks a darker question. What use is a dead philosopher if tyrants rule unchecked? What use is moral purity if your enemies hold the sword? History is merciless toward the gentle. Empaths assume others feel guilt. They assume conscience is universal. They assume fairness is reciprocal. But Machiavelli understood something brutal. Many men are moved not by conscience, but by consequence. Socrates believed that if you appeal to reason, truth will triumph. Machiavelli believed that if you ignore human nature, you will be crushed by it. This is not merely political theory. It is psychological warfare. Socrates trusted the better angels of humanity. Machiavelli studied its shadows. Carl Jung says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Socrates illuminated the conscious. Machiavelli mapped the unconscious. And here lies the tension. Is the empath doomed because he refuses to see the darkness? Or does he transcend it? Look at history. Idealists often fall first. Reformers are assassinated. Whistleblowers are silenced. Truth-tellers are exiled. Power rarely tolerates exposure. But something strange happens. Their bodies die. Their ideas do not. Socrates was executed. But his student Plato built an intellectual empire that shaped Western philosophy for millennia. Machiavelli was exiled and tortured. Yet rulers across centuries secretly read him. Both men suffered. Both endured. But in different ways. Socrates chose moral martyrdom. Machiavelli chose strategic realism. One protects the soul. The other protects the structure. This debate is not ancient. It lives inside you. When you speak uncomfortable truth at work, are you Socratic? When you stay silent to protect your position, are you Machiavellian? When someone manipulates you, do you respond with empathy? Or do you calculate power? Socrates whispers, "Better to suffer wrong than to commit it." Machiavelli counters, "If you do not defend yourself with strength, you invite destruction. One path may cost your life. The other may cost your innocence." And perhaps the most disturbing truth is this: both paths demand sacrifice. Socrates represents moral absolutism, the belief that ethical integrity must never bend. Machiavelli represents political pragmatism, the belief that morality without power is fragile. But human beings are not purely rational. We fear rejection. We crave safety. We desire belonging. Empaths often prioritize harmony. Strategists prioritize control. In unstable environments, control wins. In stable civilizations, virtue flourishes. So perhaps the real question is not who is right, but what kind of world are you living in? Socrates died by hemlock. Machiavelli died in relative obscurity. Yet today, centuries later, their voices still collide in classrooms, boardrooms, and war rooms. Socrates reminds us that power without morality corrodes the soul. Machiavelli reminds us that morality without power invites annihilation. They are not opposites. They are tension. The ideal and the real. The conscience and the calculation. Perhaps honest empaths die first in corrupt systems. But perhaps they are the seed from which better systems grow. And perhaps Machiavellian strength is necessary to protect that seed from being trampled. Legend's legacy exists for this reason, to step into these timeless confrontations where philosophy meets flesh, where ideas bleed, where history is not distant but breathing. Because the past is not dead. It is watching how you choose. Picture the old philosopher lifting the cup. Picture the exiled diplomat sharpening his pen. One accepts death for truth. One dissects truth to survive. Neither is cowardly. Neither is simple. So I ask you, in a ruthless world, do honest empaths die first? Or do they die only in body, while their courage outlives empires? And when your moment comes, will you drink the hemlock? Or will you learn how not to be good? Whose ideology speaks louder to you, Socrates or Machiavelli? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let this debate continue beyond this screen. If these collisions of history and psychology ignite something inside you, subscribe to Legend's Legacy, where we confront the ideas that shape civilizations and still shape your soul. Because the greatest battles were never fought with swords. They were fought within the human conscience. And they are not over.